St. Louis Secluded Places. That's next on CityCorner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to CityCorner. Well, our guest today is Mark Zeman. He is an author, historian, and a photographer, and a previous guest of this show. Welcome back, Mark.
Hi, Steve. Glad to be here.
It's good to see you again. You were here for a couple of reasons in the past. You wrote a book about St. Louis.
Yes.
And things that we don't normally would know about, right?
Yeah, it's more like a Forgotten Tales of St. Louis type of a book.
Mm-hmm. But you have this whole other side. I think that you have this fascination with this city.
Oh, I do. There's 10,000 things to learn here over hundreds of years. So every time I go into a new neighborhood or something, I turn over a stone and there's something I never knew. And so I've made a lot of collections of photographies and stories that I've written about.
And you've got a couple of things going on Facebook. And you were here, I don't know when it was, last year to talk about St. Louis sculpture. And what you did was kind of roam. And when I say St. Louis, I don't mean just the city, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So you have this Facebook page that we talked about last year about St. Louis sculpture. And these are like just outdoor sculptures in public places, right?
Yes. And it originally was going to be a smaller project, but as it turned out, there's over 950 sculptures. So I kept pretty busy for a while.
Now, are you still doing that? You're still adding to it, right?
Every once in a while, I uncover a new one. Somebody installs a new piece.
And aren't you getting close to like 1,000?
Well, by the time we're through, who knows what the big ending number will be. They keep adding them. So.
Okay. All right. We're here to talk about, and that's a Facebook page, St. Louis Sculpture.
That's a Facebook page, too.
You have another one, and tell me how these two pages are related or connected. St. Louis Secluded Places.
Yes. Both of these pages originated when COVID, the pandemic, started. And I just have to keep busy, and I have to keep reading and learning or putting in a garden, and I've already done that. So I needed to have more things to do and things that I could share with other people because we're all going through the same thing. So I did the sculpture piece so that people could enjoy the sculpture even if they're restricted to home. And the same thing with the secluded places. I think that a lot of people during the pandemic, we had a lot of angst. You know, people are restricted. They can't see the museums, the theaters, everything's closed.
Right.
So it was a good opportunity for me to get out, get fresh air and get some exercise and discover places that were peaceful and where you could just sit and reflect for a while.
So when you say secluded, what were you ruling out? Does that mean if there was something in a park in downtown St. Louis that wouldn't be included because it's not secluded?
It's a real mix because some of the places are a little out of the area and some are right in the heart of the city that you would have never even known existed. I had no idea half these places were here. And yet each one of these has some level of seclusion and a place for serene contemplation, let's say.
We have a map.
Yep.
I think, of places, I guess, that you've already gone to photograph.
Mm-hmm.
So just explain what we're looking at.
So this is a map that's embedded in the Facebook page. The title of the page is St. Louis Secluded Places. And each one of those little blue dots you see is the location. So if you were to go to this page, click on any one of those blue dots, it would blow up to a window and you'd not only see the location, but you see the narrative and a photograph.
Neat. And I know you like to make the point, too, that you have to kind of be careful these days where you go, so you don't get ads and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
But this is totally risk-free.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing. There's no advertisement, no fees. Anybody can go, and it's a good place to share with your friends and do meetup. You can go, hey, let's go discover this little place in your neighborhood or something.
Well, let's take a look at the first secluded place.
Okay, this is Murphy Lake. This is a good example of one that people drive by and everybody knows where Forest Park. Everybody knows Forest Park.
I've never heard of Murphy Lake. Let me throw that in there.
And people have never heard of Murphy Lake. This is on the very north end, and the whole park is interlaced with paths and roadways and you can park anywhere. This is the one place in the entire park, one of two places, that is almost never visited. And it's a beautiful little lake.
Where exactly?
It's on the north end, right on Lindell, pretty much in the middle of it. And if you just get off their drive, you can look in and you can see it. And in the fall, it's spectacular. The leaves of the deciduous trees are gorgeous, the waterfowl, and there's so few people. There's a little pathway you can walk and some benches, and there's nobody ever there.
I wonder if they've done that on purpose.
I think so. The rest of them you can go through Kennedy Park, and they have paths, and the people park there. They're very heavily traveled. But this is a good place to get away from it all.
And how'd you hear about it?
I stumbled on it.
Just by accident?
That was by accident. I didn't read about it. I had to go look up what it was.
No kidding. Because there's not a sign there.
There's no sign. You just had to go look it up. And how would you look up what you don't know exists?
All right, let's take a look at the next secluded place that we have.
This is a wonderful little place. This is another example of being somewhat out of St. Louis. This is in Augusta, in a rather remote part of Augusta. It's a Buddhist temple. And
all I know is about wineries in Augusta.
That's the main draw by
Right.
Montel. But you can go here. You don't have to be a member of this Buddhist association or Buddhist at all. Anybody can go. And it's a wonderful place for meditative contemplation. The grounds are very well manicured. They have this figurine of Buddha standing is not colossal, but it's really a wonderful piece. There's also a mortuary there with the interned ashes of other Buddhist families with a very large sculpture inside.
So there's an actual building there? This is a place of worship where people go to worship?
This is a place to have a worship. You can see in the background there's a roof, or I believe they have like ceremonies or something. There's also a couple of buildings, and there's a great area of walking area.
What's interesting to me is, and I don't know anything about it, I don't know how many Buddhist people there are, but you think in Augusta, I'm just shocked that there would be enough to have somewhere to go.
I think they picked it because it was out of the way.
Huh.
And so, I never looked up the head count of Buddhist people who are in St. Louis, but there's a sizable population.
Oh, so you think a lot of maybe St. Louis Buddhists go
Sure,
there?
they make it as a retreat to get out.
Or a day trip or
I
something.
had a nice little day trip, have a little picnic out there.
This is a Facebook page, St. Louis Secluded Places. Mark Zeman is our guest. Let's look at the next one.
Okay, this is a labyrinth. This one needs a little more explanation. It's down at the Centenary Church, which is downtown. People familiar with it will know the Campbell House Museum.
Sure.
It's very near there. And this, you can see the structure on the ground with the line work. It's a pathway called a labyrinth. And a lot of people confuse them with a labyrinth from Greek mythology where you're trying to escape and there's a minotaur. And it's meant to confuse you or ensnare you. In the medieval tradition of this type of labyrinth, it's a pathway. It's a journey rather than a trap or something. So people would start at the very beginning, the opening on this labyrinth. They would walk the course as a pathway and meditate or say prayers or just be contemplative and look at the beautiful little setting. It's in a little garden there. And if you're a member of the church, I'm sure you know it's there. But people outside of that sphere probably are not acquainted with it.
I don't recognize it. Did you see people doing the walk when you were there?
This one I went with somebody because that person wanted to go to this labyrinth. So I said, yeah, I got to photograph this.
Wow. Let's go to the next one.
Now this is one I was very surprised. It's right across from Washington University. It's actually university property. The Danforth
On the Forest Park side?
On the west side of Forest Park.
Okay.
And so I had no idea. I know a woman who worked at the university for 20 years. And she said, I had no idea this was here.
Well, what exactly is that a path?
That's a stone pathway that goes through, it's rather small, I think like 4 acres, but it's these beautiful floral arrangements and trees. There's a kiosk, picnic benches, large full trees. And if you're a block away, it's the hubbub and the bustle of the major intersections.
Right.
And right here, you can watch the butterflies flitting around, grab a sack lunch, or just sit there with your coffee.
And like the other places, is there a sign by the street?
There is a little sign, but you're whizzing down so fast, you don't recognize it. Nobody sees it.
Wow. Let's look at another one. Secluded Places in St. Louis. What is that?
This is another labyrinth. Now, this is taken in the fall. So the deciduous trees are denuded of their leaves. So you can see on the ground the large white stones. That's the pathway that delineates the pathway. You walk on the black we call it black gravel, and you do your contemplation or meditation as you walk, or do your rosary, and you come out in the same end. And it's supposed to, the journey is supposed to be cleansing.
And where is this?
That's at the Mercy Retreat Center.
And where is that?
And you have to you have to Google all the addresses or something to remember. But it's again, this is off from the main retreat center. So I think a lot of people that go there don't go here because it's I don't know, a quarter of a mile away. They have it tucked away on purpose.
And how did you find out about this one?
Someone told me about this. They said, if you like labyrinths, there's one here. And I had no idea there was one there. How did that happen?
Let's see. Let's take a look at one more.
This is one I recently discovered. I was heading out, if you're heading out and going to, let's say, Six Flags, and this is the marker to the entrance of the place. It's a memorial grove, and it's probably the smallest of all these parks and places I've looked at. And it exists because people have donated their bodies for medical research. The university recognized those people. There's a monument within it, and there's some groves of trees surrounded by a path that goes through it, several benches. So if you're a family member or anyone, as you can just go, you can go in and remember your aunt or your grandparents, whatever, had donated their body. You can go think about them and what they meant to you and what their contribution meant to the medical world.
I'm just thinking, you're a pretty friendly guy. So I'm just guessing that a lot of these times when you go to these places, find these for the first time and take photographs, I bet once in a while you meet somebody, talk to a stranger, and that could be very interesting.
Oh yeah, you can meet, I didn't meet anybody here, but I certainly could have. I could have bumped into who other than somebody whose parents possibly in there. And it's a great place to meet people too.
Well, Mark, we'll be right back. We need to take a little break, and we have more St. Louis Secluded Places right after this.
Residents love the St. Louis Zoo because it's free. There's a train, a carousel, opportunities to make new friends, and plenty of fun learning experiences with the animals 363 days a year. So come and experience St. Louis.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020. One teen can come in and make you look at life in a whole different way.
You know, he's my father, so I look up to him a lot. If I can be 10% of the man he is, I'll be a happy person for sure.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. Mark Zeman is our guest. He is a historian, a photographer, and an author. We're talking about a couple of his Facebook pages. One is St. Louis Secluded Places. That's the one we're focusing on today. But he also, the other one is, I get all yours mixed up.
Sculpture.
St. Louis Sculpture, thank you. But so they're kind of different, but the same.
Yeah.
They're places people don't really know about that you've kind of searched out, and you put them on Facebook. And we showed a map earlier, so you can go to your Facebook page and like pick out a particular one if you want to, or just go through them, right?
Yes.
I want to mention, it was just about a year ago, Mark, that I met you for the first time because you were on this program. You wrote a book about the title of it is Historic Tales of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I think it was something like 88 different topics. And they're not about things that most people would know about. They're historic things that just aren't on most people's radar. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing new. People who study history are probably familiar with most of the pieces, but an average just citizen will find these more of a hidden history thing. And the distinctive piece in here is that you can read something, and I tried to make the connections. I mean, what does that mean to modern world, or what were some of the other facts that led to this event, to pull out more of the things that aren't spoken about.
Right. So that's Reedy Press.
That's the History Press.
The History Press, I'm sorry.
Different publisher.
I got it mixed up. So people can still get that book if they want to, right?
Yes, it's still available, and I know it's gone up a couple of shelves. They probably reordered. Get it online, or probably, if it's on the shelf, almost every bookstore in the city.
Okay. We're talking about your Facebook page now, St. Louis Secluded Places. And how often do you add to it?
That one is just whenever I happen to be milling around, I go around all over the town. So I think I've added one like every 2 or 3 months or so. So it's serendipitous discovery, whatever you happen to stumble across.
Sometimes you go to a place and you're done in 20 minutes, and other times you're there for 3 hours?
Yeah, and you really want to explore it. And if it's a small place, it won't be too long. Right. But you want to make a good record of it and then go look up what the information to put it on the Facebook page.
Well, let's look at some more of your images from your Facebook page, St. Louis Secluded Places.
Here's another kind of a little surprise one. This one is in the middle of a residential area, and this photograph's from the spring, and it's just stuck in the middle of a residential area with an area called Serenity Grove. Now, I couldn't have a place on the serene places of St. Louis without including this, but there's a lovely little path. About half of it is concrete, so it's accessible by even wheelchair for people that have a little difficulty walking. And then it has areas of pea gravel, I think.
Wow, it's beautiful.
And a lot of these you just don't know they're there.
Let's look at the next one.
Now, here's a good example of one that's smack dab in the center of a very busy intersection.
That's Clayton?
That is Clayton. And people say, I've lived in Clayton, or I've been in this town, and this waterfall, and if you were to completely turn with this toward your back, it's over an entire valley of lush trees and a little lake.
Do you see this when you drive by it?
No, that's why a lot of people don't notice it.
And did you say exactly where it is?
It's, you'd have to Google it. I'm not good with the street names.
Okay.
But it's wonderful. There's a fountain at the top, this beautiful water feature that goes down a series of cascades into a lake. And in fact, right around the corner is what they call a sensory garden. They have a garden planted with all sorts of beautiful flowers that have different aromas in it. So it's an amazing little place.
What about when you were at this place? Did you see other people there?
This place, since it's right in Clayton, a lot of the local people know it's there. Right. But if you don't hang around in Clayton just buzzing around, you may have never seen this. You drive right past it.
Wow. I'm going to put that on my list. Let's take a look at another image.
Oh, this is one of my favorite because I do love the birds.
That's not what I think of as Webster Groves either.
I know. You think, wow, where are
the big houses?
Where's all the people and everything? But this is in Blackburn Park, which is a well-known park. But tucked off in the corner, I believe it's the southeast corner, there's an entire, several acres of earth trail. I think it's got some mulch on it. And it's a reserve for birds. So they've got bird houses, and they leave the foliage all natural. It's a wonderful place to go. A lot of people do go birding there, but everybody tries to be quiet. I think I've seen one person in all the times I've been there. I saw one human being.
Huh. In addition to St. Louis Secluded Places and the other one, you're doing something, I don't know much about it, but log cabins.
Oh, yeah. Steve and I are on Facebook friends together.
Yeah.
So my latest project is cabins, log cabins of St. Louis. And I think I've only got about a dozen of them. So it just went, here's a log cabin.
Now, I'd be shocked that there are a dozen log cabins here to begin with.
Yeah. Oh, you think they've all long been demolished.
Right.
But you have places like Faust Park, which has done a great job of securing and preserving these things.
So is that a new one, a new page for you? The log
Yes,
cabins?
well, it hasn't been officially launched. I've got it about halfway done. So, but there'll be a good number of them, and you could, again, it's got another map. You can point, oh, look, here's one, and it's 2 blocks from my house. I didn't have any idea it was there.
And you're able to find the history of whatever you're looking
There's a
at.
little narrative on it and a photograph, some history. Some of it's been quite amazing history in some of the cabins.
Okay, let's go back to your St. Louis Secluded Places Facebook page and take a look at a few more images here.
Here's another one, Forest Park. And the reason I've included it here, a lot of people have been here, a lot have seen it. They go to as a destination, but it's not on the main pathway. So it is more difficult. It was actually at the entrance of what was the streetcar entrance at Forest Park. That's the original concept, to cross this lagoon. But it has since been it's just a bridge to
Is
nowhere.
that connected to the bike trail?
There's a bike trail right on
that
the other
is,
side.
okay.
So it's, but a lot of the general people that go to Forest Park don't end up here. It's a rather unpopulated area.
Really?
But if you really want to get an aesthetic view of this beautiful bridge and a wonderful piece of history of St. Louis, it's a great place to go, even have a picnic lunch right there.
Ah, that sounds good. Let's go to the next image.
This is another little spot way off the beaten path, and it's a huge area. The pathways are very nice. It's more of a walking trail, but it's not in like some of the other ones are in big parks. This is just specifically set aside as a wild, unmodified area. So it's a great place to get away from people, have a nice quiet walk and get fresh air. And there are a couple of good places to stop and rest and just gather your thoughts.
Let's move on.
Here's another one that's right in the thick of things. If you look in that dome structure, I don't know if you can see in your televisions, there's the basilica, is that little bump right in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
And so that dome structure is to mirror that. And there's a 3-leveled fountain in the middle, which is actually wonderful. In the heat of the summer, bees come in from the plants and sip. You can see a dozen bees standing around the water to sip the water. And in the bottom, you can see on the right-hand side, there is the tile with a labyrinth pattern. So the intention is that you can walk the pathways. There's even a little sign at this one that talks about the labyrinth history and how to walk a labyrinth.
Wow, that's fascinating. Hey, people probably wonder, what does Mark Zeman do in real life?
Well, they probably don't want to know that. But no,
I mean professionally.
Professionally. I work for a geospatial company called Certex Corporation. We have a fleet of aircraft. We do geospatial mapping. So the fleet of aircraft fly and they gather data and imagery of the Earth's surface.
Now, is that connected to the geospatial project we have going on here in town, or is that something?
That's a federal entity,
Right.
but we do that type of product.
Huh.
But we do a lot of work for the government.
All right, we're talking about your Facebook page now, St. Louis Secluded Places, places that you probably need to check out. So let's check one out. Another one out, I should say.
There's another wonderful little one that
You love bridges, don't you?
I just love these old bridges. The grotto here in Lafayette Park, a lot of people know about it, a lot of people in there, but as many people.
You mean Lafayette Square?
Yeah. And people, you didn't know that? This is beautiful little grotto right in this area where the George Washington statue is and all that. Yeah, people might go to the park and they may have been there 20 times and never seen this. And it's not really even hidden, they just didn't make their way around to it.
I had grandparents that had their first date in Lafayette Park in the early 1800s. I wonder if that was there then.
This bridge was, as I don't know if people know, it is in the book, that this area was hit by a cyclone, massive cyclone in this richest part of town, and tore out everything.
My grandmother was a young girl there, and she was born in 1891, and she used to tell me stories. She was very young, but she remembered when everyone was hiding in the basements.
Yeah, it was devastating. It tore out everything, and then they rebuilt the whole thing.
Fascinating. All right, let's take a look at another.
Here's another great little one, because how many people, this is right on Kings Highway, and you might have just seen the tops of these coneflowers, and this is a very small area right on Southwest, and it is busy. It's just north of Tower Grove Park, and people are going to Tower Grove Park. But this little oasis has a wonderful little exhibit about beehives. You can open up one of these little compartments and see the insides of a beehive.
No kidding.
And there's some sculptures of some large butterfly and caterpillar there. It's really a wonderful place. and the noise you think would get to you. But I tell you, when you're there, you walk the little path, and pretty soon you don't even hear it.
All these places, maybe this might be too general a question for you to answer, but where do they come from? Are these all sort of public, paid for with public funds, public parks, all these places you find, or does it matter?
They differ a lot because, for example, the Washington University is obviously owned by them for that specific purpose.
Right.
The ones within Forest Park, those are run by the city. This belongs to an organization, and it's a small. I don't think they get any funds from the city, but it's really a beautiful little place if you want to just escape for like your lunch hour.
Yeah, who doesn't want to do that?
Who doesn't want that?
Let's look at another St. Louis secluded place.
Here's a really nice little quiet place too. I thought there would be many more people here, but it's a conservation area in Sunset Hills. And
I couldn't even find Sunset Hills.
Oh, you can't? Well, the best thing to do is go to that map.
It's kind of down south somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's down south. And you have to get the name from that little map and then click, and it'll show you. You can just click it. You can find out how to get there in a blank. But this is one, I didn't see one soul there. I was there for like 2 hours.
No kidding.
Not a person. And look at this beautiful little, they've got lakes. This has a bridge worked over the top of it.
We're just about out of time, Mark, but in the few seconds we've got left, I want to ask you, because you've done something recent or just begin, something about Thomas Jefferson's estate.
Oh, yes. Our company just got through doing an aerial LiDAR project for Monticello property. This is the Thomas Jefferson property in the state of Virginia, and the head archaeologists on that project use that data to help identify features that have long been eroded or overgrown. So this is helping them, like you see in South America, they've used this LiDAR to detect whole Mayan villages now covered with jungle. So the archaeologists in this project are using the same technology. So I got through contributing to an article for it, and we just had a major podcast. So it'll be out soon.
Well, you've got Secluded Places, and tell us how to find your Facebook pages.
Just all you have to do is, if you're on Facebook, just Google me, or either of these two right here. You go on Facebook and just type in St. Louis Secluded Places, and it'll pop right up.
And look at the maps, and you can go from there.
Look at the map, and you'll see larger images, so you can get a close-up shot, and the locator map will have little tiny photos.
Well, Mark Zeman, maybe I'll bump into you in a secluded place sometime.
We shall. We'll make a plan.
Thanks for coming back and sharing it with us. It's fascinating, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoy it, and it'll help people decide what to do this weekend, maybe.
Yeah,
and spring's right around the corner,
Yeah, it'll give them a nice place to get away, get some exercise, and find a nice, serene, meditative place.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very much for having me.
And thank you for being part of City Corner. We'll see you at a secluded place someday. Have a good one. Join us next time. Bye.